Picture this. You're a Marine defending a tiny airstrip on a remote Pacific island. It's pitch black. You hear rustling in the jungle ahead. Then you see them, thousands of Japanese soldiers charging towards you, screaming, bayonets fixed. Your machine gun is jammed. You're almost out of ammunition. Every Marine in your section is either dead or wounded. You're alone. What do you do? For Gunnery Sergeant John Basilone, the answer was simple: fight. And for 3 straight days in October 1942, that's exactly what he did. This is the story of the most decorated enlisted Marine in United States history, the only Marine to receive both the Medal of Honor and the Navy Cross, and a man whose courage on Guadalcanal became legendary. John Basilone was born in Buffalo, New York, in 1916, the 6th of 10 children in an Italian immigrant family. Growing up in the tight-knit Italian community of Raritan, New Jersey, Basilone was a scrappy kid who loved boxing and getting into trouble. When he turned 18 in 1934, Basilone did what a lot of young men did during the Great Depression. He joined the army. He served in the Philippines with the army for 3 years, learning to be a soldier. After his army stint, Basilone came home to New Jersey and tried civilian life. He worked as a truck driver and a caddy at a local golf course. But the military had gotten into his blood. In 1940, with war clouds gathering over Europe and Asia, Basilone made a decision that would change his life. He joined the United States Marine Corps. The Marines sent him to boot camp at Paris Island, where the infamous drill instructors transformed him from a former soldier into a Marine. Basilone excelled. He was tough, disciplined, and a natural leader. More importantly, he was deadly with a machine gun. The Browning M 1917 water-cooled machine gun weighed over 100 pounds with its tripod, could fire 600 rounds per minute, and required a crew of several men to operate effectively. Basilone could handle it like it was part of his own body. By mid-1942, Basilone was a sergeant assigned to Charlie Company, 1st Battalion, 7th Marines. In August 1942, his unit shipped out for Guadalcanal. Guadalcanal was hell on earth. The Japanese had been building an airfield there, and the United States needed to take it to protect the supply lines to Australia. The Marines landed in August and captured the airfield, renaming it Henderson Field. But the Japanese weren't going to give it up without a fight. For the next 6 months, the Japanese Army and Navy threw everything they had at that tiny strip of jungle and coral, trying to recapture it. The Marines dug in around Henderson Field and waited. The Japanese controlled the sea and brought in reinforcements almost every night in what the Marines called the Tokyo Express. Wave after wave of Japanese troops landed on the island, and wave after wave attacked the Marine positions. The fighting was brutal, close-quarters combat in the jungle, often hand-to-hand. October 24, 1942, was the beginning of what would become known as the Battle for Henderson Field, or sometimes called the Battle of Bloody Ridge. The Japanese had assembled a force of over 15,000 troops for a massive offensive. Their plan was simple: overwhelm the Marines with sheer numbers, retake Henderson Field, and push the Americans off the island. John Basilone's position was on a ridge overlooking one of the key approaches to Henderson Field. His section had 2 machine guns, and they were responsible for defending a critical stretch of the perimeter. If the Japanese broke through here, they could roll up the entire Marine line and take the airfield. The Japanese attacked at dusk on October 24th. First came the artillery barrage, shells screaming in, exploding in the jungle, shredding trees and throwing up geysers of mud and coral. Then came the infantry. Thousands of Japanese soldiers emerged from the jungle, charging toward the Marine positions. Basilone and his gunners opened fire. The Browning machine guns roared, spitting out hundreds of rounds per minute. Japanese soldiers fell in waves, but more kept coming. They charged through their own dead, climbing over bodies, screaming "Banzai!" and firing as they ran. The attack continued all night. The Japanese came in wave after wave, regiment after regiment. As one of Basilone's fellow Marines later said, "They just kept coming. You'd cut down 50 and 100 more would appear. It was like trying to stop the ocean." Basilone's machine guns were firing almost continuously. The barrels glowed red-hot in the darkness. The noise was deafening. The chattering of the machine guns, the crack of rifles, the screams of wounded men, the explosions of grenades. Then Basilone's problems got worse. One of his machine guns jammed. In the darkness, under fire, with Japanese soldiers just yards away, Basilone had to clear the jam and get the gun back in action. He did it. Then the other gun jammed. He cleared that one too. Then they started running low on ammunition. This is where John Basilone became a legend. With Japanese soldiers attacking his position, with Marines dying around him, Basilone made a decision. He left his relatively safe position and ran through enemy fire to get more ammunition. He made trip after trip, carrying heavy ammunition boxes and belts of machine gun rounds, sometimes weighing over 100 pounds, sprinting through the jungle while Japanese bullets snapped past his head. On one trip, Basilone came across a group of Japanese soldiers who had infiltrated behind the Marine lines. He killed them all. On another trip, he found a Marine machine gun position that had been wiped out. All the Marines were dead or wounded. Basilone picked up one of the 90-pound machine guns, carried it back to his position by himself, set it up, and got it into action. For 2 days and 3 nights, John Basilone barely slept. He fought continuously, firing his machine guns, clearing jams, running for ammunition, helping wounded Marines, and directing his remaining gunners. At one point, Basilone picked up the white-hot barrel with his bare hands, burning his hands severely so he could keep the gun in action. His commanding officers later estimated that Basilone and his section killed over 3,000 Japanese soldiers in those 3 days. His guns created a wall of fire that the Japanese could not break through. Henderson Field was saved, and with it, the entire Guadalcanal campaign. When the battle finally ended, Basilone's position was surrounded by dead Japanese soldiers. Bodies were stacked 3 and 4 deep in front of his machine guns. And John Basilone, burned, exhausted, and covered in blood, had held the line. His company commander recommended Basilone for the Medal of Honor. The citation read, "For extraordinary heroism and conspicuous gallantry in action against enemy Japanese forces, above and beyond the call of duty, Sergeant Basilone, in charge of 2 sections of heavy machine guns, fought valiantly to check the savage and determined assault, contributed materially to the defeat and virtually the annihilation of a Japanese regiment." In May 1943, John Basilone received the Medal of Honor from General Douglas MacArthur. He was the first enlisted Marine to receive it in World War II. He became a national hero overnight. Magazine covers, newspapers, the White House, war bond tours. The Marines wanted to keep Basilone stateside, using his celebrity status for recruiting and war bonds. But Basilone wasn't interested in safety. His brothers in arms were still fighting, and he felt he belonged with them. He requested to return to combat. The Marines tried to talk him out of it. His family begged him to stay home. But as he told one reporter, "I'm a plain soldier. I belong back with my outfit." In December 1944, he was assigned to the 27th Marines, 5th Marine Division, training for Iwo Jima. Basilone had married fellow Marine Lena May Riggy. Their marriage lasted just 7 months before he shipped out. Lena later said she knew he wouldn't come back, but never tried to stop him. Johnny was a Marine. That's who he was. February 19th, 1945, D-Day at Iwo Jima. John Basilone waded ashore in the first wave hitting Red Beach. The Japanese had turned Iwo Jima into a fortress with hundreds of bunkers and interconnected tunnels. They let the Marines land, then opened fire with everything they had. Basilone immediately went to work. He led his platoon off the beach and began destroying Japanese bunkers. He personally destroyed one blockhouse with explosives. He fought through minefields. He rallied pinned-down Marines, getting them moving forward. Then, as Basilone led his men toward another objective, a Japanese mortar round landed near him. The explosion killed John Basilone instantly. He was 27 years old. He had been on Iwo Jima less than 4 hours. The Marines he led said Basilone had single-handedly gotten their unit off the beach and into the fight. Once again, his courage had saved countless lives. For his actions on Iwo Jima, John Basilone was awarded the Navy Cross. He became the only enlisted Marine in World War II to receive both the Medal of Honor and the Navy Cross. His legacy lives on in the Marine Corps. Every recruit learns about Manila John Basilone in boot camp. The destroyer USS Basilone was named in his honor. An annual parade honors him in Raritan, New Jersey. John Basilone could have stayed home after Guadalcanal. He had done more than his share. He could have lived a long life, but that wasn't who he was. He was a Marine, and his brothers were still fighting. That's the story of Gunnery Sergeant John Basilone, the kid from New Jersey who held off 3,000 Japanese soldiers, the Marine who turned down safety to go back into combat, the hero who earned the Medal of Honor and the Navy Cross, one of the greatest warriors America has ever produced.